Yo, what is going on, guys? It is me, Jolts, and welcome back to another video on the channel, guys. In this video, we got some more hot takes for you guys. It's been a while since I made the last episode for COD Zombies Hot Takes, and by the way, if you guys are subscribed as of recently, or if you guys haven't seen my hot takes videos, I'll put a card up on the screen right now to the whole playlist. Make sure you click the card and watch the playlist. But back to what I was saying, it's been around 8 months since the last episode. So with that being said, as well as this being the 5th episode in the COD Zombies Hot Takes series, I decided to throw some super hot takes at you guys. This will not be like my typical hot takes videos. This one will trigger you, I can almost guarantee it. So if you get offended easily, or if you just don't feel like getting in a bad mood, click off the video now, or shut up and deal with my opinions. Anyways, this intro has been way too long, so if you guys do enjoy this video, do me a huge favor and drop a like, and subscribe if you are new, and with that being said, let's jump straight into number 5. For this entry, I'm kind of breaking the rules. I'm going to compare Treyarch's boss fights in Black Ops 4 and Black Ops Cold War to Infinity Ward's boss fights in IW Zombies and Extinction. So yes, this does technically have to do with stuff outside of zombies, but I didn't feel like it would make for a fair comparison if I just compared IW Zombies to Cold War Zombies. So I'm doing the 2 most recent co-op game modes from both developers. Starting off with BO4. In BO4, there were 7 boss fights, and out of those 7 boss fights, only 2 were fun to do. Those 2 boss fights, of course, being the Eye of Odin on Voyage of Despair, as well as the Perseus boss fight from Ancient Evil. 9's is cool, but it's way too easy to be called a boss fight. Blood of the Dead, Alpha Omega, and Dead of the Night all have really cool boss fights, but they're extremely underwhelming. As far as that other map is concerned, I don't even know if you can call that a boss fight because there's no boss. Now let's talk about Cold War's boss fights. At the time of me recording this, there's only 5 boss fights in the game, starting off with D Machinas. For this boss fight, all you have to do is defend Orlov, even though he has infinite health, so he can't really die, which I don't understand this, but so unless you go down from the zombies, I don't even think you can fail D Machina's boss fight. In Firebase Z, you literally just spray an RPG with Ring of Fire into the Order's mouth. You know, the same exact order that's on just about every single map that they release. Then we have a good boss fight in the Legion boss fight, or Outbreak Part 1. It's difficult, yet it's kind of underwhelming, since you don't have to pay attention to what the boss is actually doing, and that's a big problem with most of the Treyarch boss fights. Outside of a few exceptions, like the Nikolai boss fight on Grod Grovy, and maybe the Giant Keeper on Der Eisendrache, the boss is not a main threat. Outbreak Part 2's boss fight is pretty much the same thing as Firebase Z's, except this time, the Order can move. And finally, we have the most recent Treyarch boss fight, the Valentina boss fight from Mauer der Toten. Now I have to admit, this is a solid boss fight. There's different phases, there's different attacks that she can hit you with, and she's the threat. She's who you gotta pay attention to. This is pretty much everything that you need in a boss fight. Now let's go over Infinity Ward's boss fights. In Extinction, there are 2 really good boss fights, and there's 1 decent one. The 2 good boss fights are the Brooder boss fight from Nightfall and the Ancestor boss fight from Exodus. The decent one is the Kraken boss fight from Mayday, and that's pretty much it for Extinction, so let's move on to IW Zombies. For IW Zombies, there are 6 boss fights in this game, and 4 of them are at least good, at the very least. The Alien boss fight on Zombies in Spaceland is great. Spaceland is an example of how to make a simple boss fight really fun and replayable. The boss fight on Raven and Redwoods is decent, but it would be a lot better if it was just a little bit harder. The boss fight on Shaolin Shuffle sucks, so I'm just gonna skip past that one. Moving on to Attack of the Radioactive Thing, which is really fun. The Beast from Beyond's boss fight sucks. It's by far their worst boss fight that they have ever made. And then we get to the Mephistopheles boss fight. By far the best boss fight in Zombies history. Not just by Infinity Ward or by Treyarch, but out of any developer in Zombies history. Which, if you guys don't know what the Mephistopheles boss fight is, that's the boss fight that you're watching right now. It is a fantastic boss fight. There are 6 different phases with like 10 different attacks that he can do, and he's the threat. It's not a fight that you can beat in one try with little to no effort. Boss fights should be difficult, and they're more fun when the boss is the actual threat, not the zombies. In most IW boss fights, the boss is the actual threat. Think about it. The alien from Spaceland's boss fight is the threat. The giant Krog from Attack of the Radioactive Things boss fight is the threat. Mephistopheles is the threat. There's none of that in Treyarch's boss fights. While Treyarch can make good Easter eggs, although they haven't been good as of late, let's just be completely honest. Treyarch has always struggled with their boss fights, and for the most part, that's been a strong suit of Infinity Ward's third game modes. The Raygun Mark III is thought of pretty highly in the zombies community. Everyone talks about how good it is and how fun it is to use, and I just don't see it. Not only is the Raygun Mark III statistically the worst ray gun, but it's not even as fun to use as people say it is. I've pretty much always enjoyed using the Raygun Mark I, even in Black Ops 3 where some people say it's the worst it's ever been. I'd go as far as to say that the Raygun Mark I is underrated in Black Ops 3, especially on Shadows of Evil. As far as the Mark II goes, it's one of my favorite wonder weapons ever. Even in Black Ops 4, where most of the wonder weapons from the past just completely sucked, I enjoyed using the Raygun Mark II in that game, and I can't really say the same for the Raygun Mark III. I don't know, it's not as fun to use as the other two ray guns if you ask me. Don't get me wrong, I'm not calling it a bad wonder weapon, not in the slightest. I actually kind of enjoy using it, but when people say that it's better or that it's more fun to use than the Raygun Mark I or the Raygun Mark II, then that's where I draw the line. You know, to be honest, I don't think there's been a hotter take since the second episode. Whenever people ask me what my least favorite map is, they expect me to say something obvious, something very generic like Transit, or Die Rise, or The Darkest Shore, or Infection. And then I say Tag der Toten, and they immediately ask why. I've never really gone too in depth as to why I hate this map, but I'm going to today. Keep in mind that I'm not going to mention every single thing that I dislike about the map, because then this video would be like 30 minutes long, on top of the other 4 hot takes included in this episode. Okay, let's do this. First off, why are there 3 power switches? If you're going to do a basic power system, do it. Don't plan on doing a basic power system, then switch to a more complex one halfway through development. There are so many broken spots on this map. One of my favorites is to bypass the door in the spawn room. Victus is unbearable on this map. Seriously, they are by far the worst they have ever been. Yes, they're worse than Transit. I think they're twice as bad as they were in Transit. Napalm zombies are back. Why? Who fucking knows? I know that you can hold the dynamite that they drop to get them to stop spawning, but why should I have to do that? Let me compare this scenario to another map, a fan favorite if you will. Let's compare it to Origins. Everyone complains about the generator zombies being annoying and they're such a nuisance, but would it be right for me to say that they're not a problem and all you have to do is leave at least 3 generators off, haha, it's not that big of a deal? No, it wouldn't be, because it's messing with the core mechanics of the map. Why should I be forced to either deal with the napalm zombies or not have access to certain parts of the map because I don't want to deal with them? The snowballs are not fun to use, and why do I have to restock them every 6 to 10 uses of them? Also, why are there 3 different tactical equipments if I can only hold 1 at a time? This is BO4's fault more than Tag or Toten's, but it still doesn't excuse them from doing something stupid like give the player 3 different equipments to use, but they can only use 1 at a time. The wonder weapons are the most boring and unsatisfying wonder weapons to use ever. You have the Wonderwave Sniper, which is literally the Tempest from multiplayer, but even less satisfying to use. You have the Tundra Gun, which, do I even have to explain why this weapon sucks? I'm gonna go ahead and say no. And last but not least, we have the Thunder Gun. It has no kickback, it sounds awful, and it looks like it's been squished down to fit in the screen. The totem poles are not fun to do. You have challenges on other maps, like you have decent ones on Grod Krovi, and you have fun challenges like the ones on Zetsubo. But these are just absolutely horrible. Each totem pole consists of 3 challenges, and the first 2 aren't that bad. I will give the map that. But the third one, oh my god. The third one suck. These are the 5 challenges that you have to do. Keep in mind that these are not random, and you will get the same 3 challenges in the same order from the same totem pole every single game. You have to play a song in the correct order by shooting a bunch of bells. You have to throw snowballs at random SOS signs to finish them. You have to create a bowl of fucking soup. Why? You have to play whack-a-mole, and last but certainly not least, you have to take 3 bottles of pee from the top of the lighthouse down to the water in the Call of the Dead spawn room. But don't worry, it gets even worse, because during this process, you cannot jump, you cannot run, you cannot sprint, you cannot fall off a ledge, and you cannot zipline while holding a bottle of pee. If you do, it will break, and you have to go back to the top of the lighthouse and grab another bottle of pee. Just in case I haven't stressed this enough, another bottle of pee and take it back down to the water in the Call of the Dead spawn room. You have to do this 3 times to complete this challenge, but you can't carry more than 1 for some reason, which brings me to this god-awful Easter egg. This is the dumbest, most tedious mess I have ever done. This is worse than the Darkest Shores Easter egg. This is worse than Blood of the Dead's Easter egg. This is even worse than D Machina's Easter egg. Nothing in this Easter egg is fun. In case you don't know, the Easter egg is you have to turn on all 3 power switches, which is stupid, again by the way. Grab some random parts across the map, give them to Pablo at the top of the lighthouse, complete 2 out of the 5 aforementioned totem poles, so you have to complete at least 2 of the 5 challenges that I mentioned, just to do the Easter egg, which is ridiculous. Then you have to do something with an orb that will insta-kill you if you interact with it at the wrong time. Input a code that you don't have to go around the map to look for the numbers for, because even though they want you to look around the map because they have the numbers sitting in random locations that you have to go out of your way for, all you have to do is just place the dials and the dials will ding when you found the right number. So what's the point of finding the numbers? Then you have to grab even more random parts, blow up a vault and grab the Seal of Duality, I think it's called. I don't really care enough to find out. Which, by the way, I can't do this step of the Easter egg if I don't want to deal with the napalm zombies because I need to use the dynamite. Then you have to find 3 red orbs that are randomly located across the map, throw snowballs at them, and then shoot them. Then go back to the room with the orb and do the same thing again. Then grab some music boxes and throw them at a campfire, go to the top of the lighthouse and grab some soapstones, do something stupid with them to fix the power in the facility. So that's technically 4 power switches in this map. Why do we need 4 power switches? Why? Then shoot some power lines to open the door that Ultimus was locked behind in the good version of this map. Do the whole orb thing again. Then do the campfire thing again. Then do a lockdown in the lighthouse that you can just bypass anywhere but here. Then you have to take the Seal of Duality, I think, again. I don't know what it's called. Then you have to shut down all 5 Pack-a-Punch locations. And then it's time for the, quote, boss fight, which is just Onslaught from Cold War, but with horrible looking lava and fire. Seriously. Lethal Lava Land from Super Mario 64 in 1996 looks better than the lava in this, again, quote, boss fight. Then, after you finish the lockdown, you gotta do something with Pablo, and then it's time for the only good part about this map, the part where your game ends. The ending of the Ether story is the only good thing about this map. And can we even call this the ending anymore? I don't think we can. I don't think this is the ending of the Ether storyline anymore. In short, not only is Tagger Toten a bad map, but it was also rushed, unfinished, and you can see the developers' laziness with the map. That is why I hate Tagger Toten. There are some bad maps like Firebase Z, and there are some rushed maps and some unfinished maps like the Tortured Path. But as far as I'm concerned, Tagger Toten is the only map that is rushed, that is bad, that is unfinished, and that you can see the developers' laziness with the map. Before you even ask, no, I am not saying that Black Ops 2 is bad. Stop jumping to conclusions. If I'm being honest, I'm surprised that this one is considered a hot take. When people ask, what's the best zombies game? A lot of people respond with Black Ops 2. And that's just not true. I'm sorry, it's not. To be a great zombies game, you have to have consistency. And BO2 does not have that. Think about it. Black Ops 2 has 6 maps. 2 are really good, 2 are really bad, and 2 are just kinda there. Sure, Mob and Origins are great, some of the best maps ever made, and you can't take that away from this game. But you can't forget that Black Ops 2 also had Transit and Die Rise, 2 of the worst maps ever made. And don't even sit there and act like you like both of those maps, because they suck. If you say you like Transit or Die Rise, you're lying to yourself, plain and simple. Go play both maps right now like they're supposed to be played, and you'll remember that they are not good at all. Which brings me to Nuketown Zombies and Buried. Nuketown Zombies can be fun at times, but it's not something that you can play all the time. And if you ask me, the same thing goes for Buried. It's not a bad map, but it's also not a good map. Buried is like a 6 out of 10 if you ask me. So if we take all 6 maps into question and not just Mob and Origins, you can see how this is not a great zombies game. It's good, but it's nothing more than that. It's just good. Look at Black Ops 3. That is the definition of a great zombies game. There's no such thing as a bad BO3 zombies map. There are 6 great maps on BO3. As compared to BO2 zombies, there's 2 great maps, there's 2 okay maps, and there's 2 really bad maps. Like I said at the beginning of this entry, you need consistency to be a great zombies game, and Black Ops 2 Zombies does not have that. I'm gonna try to not go too in depth with this entry because I already made a video explaining exactly how I feel about Cold War Zombies, as well as pointing out my biggest problems with the game. So if you guys want to know exactly how I feel about Cold War Zombies, or more importantly, why I think Cold War Zombies is the worst zombies experience to date, click the card on the screen right now. Most of the points in the video that I make, I still do agree with, so my stance on Cold War Zombies has not changed much, but I'm going to briefly explain in this video why I don't like the game. Starting off with, they took a lot of things out of the game that they did not have to. Do you guys know the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it? Well, apparently Treyarch needs to learn what that saying means. Because in this game, they took out features that were perfectly fine and fit zombies perfectly, and they just took them out and replaced them with an even worse system. For example, they yet again took out the good point system and replaced it with one that's even worse than the one in BO4. You want to talk about Black Ops 4 killing the early game setup? Let's talk about how they took out most of the buildables and replaced it with something that you automatically get access to when you turn on the power. You don't have to craft things like the Hell's Retriever or the G-Strike grenades anymore. You don't have to hit the box for monkey bombs or Gersh devices anymore. Instead, you just buy them with salvage, which you can do as early as round 5. Just by turning on the power, you automatically have access to every single perk and every single piece of equipment. And don't even get me started on how bad of an impact letting the player start off with any weapon that they want has had on the game. When we first started hearing about the details for Cold War Zombies, we were told when they announced this system that it was going to be balanced, that every single weapon would serve a purpose. And that's not what this is. Instead, you have most weapons that are kind of balanced to be a starting weapon, and then you have the shotguns, which do not need to be upgraded once until at least round 15. Seriously. Why would I use the 1911 or the MP5 or the Diamatti as my starting weapon when they need to be upgraded as early as round 4? Whereas the shotguns don't need to be upgraded until at least round 15. The shotguns are far and away the best weapons to use, and if they got nerfed into the ground and the rest of the weapons in the game were properly balanced 10 months after the game's launch, then maybe the use whatever weapon you want to start off with idea would be a good idea. But since not every single weapon is good, and some are a lot better than others, then why would I force myself to use a bad weapon like the 1911 when I could just use a Gallo and not have to worry about upgrading it until at least round 15? Speaking of which, if you are the type of person to say, well, BO3 is your favorite zombies game, right? Why don't you have a problem with the Gobblegums making the game too easy? You have to use Gobblegums and you're just going to use a Perkaholic and you're complaining about Cold War Zombies being too easy? Stop it. Just fucking stop. You make no sense and you're making yourself look like a dumbass by saying such a stupid thing. No, BO3 and Cold War are not the same level of difficulty, and here's why. In BO3, you can't get to round 60 with any weapon that's not a wonder weapon, let alone with just your starting weapon. In BO3, you can't get every perk without doing a side quest or going out of your way to get a Perkaholic. In BO3, you can't just sit in a corner with the ray gun, ring of fire, and a chopper gunner and get to round 100 in less than 3 hours. In BO3, not every single high round strat is the exact same. In every single map in Cold War, you just sit in a corner with the ray gun, ring of fire, and a chopper gunner, and at the end of every single round, you can just simply buy more of everything. You can buy another chopper gunner, you can buy more decoy grenades, you can buy more ammo for your ray gun, instead of requiring a max ammo to get more, which made the game more difficult. Instead, you can just buy more at the end of every round. That's not balanced, it's not. In Black Ops 3, every perk doesn't have at least 5 abilities to keep you alive. In BO3, it takes at least 5 hits to die if you have Jug and a shield. In Cold War, it takes at least 10 hits to die with Jug and armor. So no, BO3 is not easier than Cold War, nor was it ever easier than Cold War. Another thing that I have a problem with is having to listen to the intel to try to understand what's going on in the story. And before you say, well, you had to do the same thing in other zombies games, ah ha 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 ha. No, you really didn't. I mean, if you wanted to know absolutely everything about the story, you had to. But if you just wanted to know what's going on in the story at the basic level, all you had to do was do the setup, and if you really wanted to, you could do the Easter egg as well. That alone told you all you needed to know to get emotionally invested in the story. Don't believe me? I've never went out of my way to listen to the intel or audio logs in any other zombies game. All I've ever done were the setups and the Easter eggs, and I know what's going on in every other zombies game story. I don't know what's going on in Cold War story though. I've done all the setups and I've completed all the Easter eggs, and all I know is Maxis has some power that Weaver wants to keep under wraps. Where is the story? This is what's so frustrating about Cold War Zombies. People have such low standards now that they think this is acceptable. The last thing I'm going to talk about in this video, because I went way too long and I'm getting way too heated for this to be a hot takes video, is the lack of detail in the maps. And yes, I know, this is more of Activision's fault than it is Treyarch's, but Activision, why are you guys making Treyarch do every zombies mode from now on? Treyarch is being worked so hard that none of the maps have any attention to detail, and every single map feels the exact same. Go play D Machina right now, then go play Firebase Z. Once you do that, go play Shadows of Evil, and then go play Der Eisendrache. Or go play 9, then go play Ancient Evil. Or you could go play Transit, then play Die Rise. Or you could play Call of the Dead, and then play Shangri-La. Once you do that, you'll realize that the Cold War maps feel the exact same. It actually feels like you're playing in a city in the 40s when you go play Shadows of Evil. It actually feels like you're stranded in Austria when you play Der Eisendrache. If you ask me for the themes for the Cold War zombie maps, all I can tell you is that they are in a base of some sort. They don't feel like they were actually lived in, like how the other maps do. They all feel the same. I had hope that Cold War Zombies would turn around and would be pretty good by the end of the DLC season, but that hope has now been lost. Cold War Zombies will without a doubt go down as the worst zombies experience ever made by any developer. Some of it is Treyarch's fault, some of it is Sledgehammer Games' fault, and some of it is Activision's fault. But it doesn't matter whose fault it is, because at the end of the day, Cold War Zombies is the worst zombies experience that we will ever have. Well, did you guys make it this far? Let me know down below in the comments. I told you guys that this is going to be a super spicy edition of COD Zombies Hot Takes. I told you guys that the hot takes in this video would be much hotter than any other hot takes in any other episode. Also, did you guys agree with my hot takes? I'm sure you guys didn't, but if you did, let me know down below in the comments. To celebrate there being 5 episodes of COD Zombies Hot Takes, I'm thinking of doing a video where I talk about your guys' hot takes. So if you guys want to see a video like that, let me know your hot takes down below in the comments. If I get enough, I will make that a video. This video is definitely going to get disliked a lot, so if you guys enjoyed, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe if you are new. Huge shout out to B-Rad the Man for becoming a sponsor. If you guys want to be shouted out at the end of every video and get a follow on Twitter as well as a few other perks, click the link down below in the description or click the join button below this video. Make sure you check out some of the videos on the end screen, and with that being said, this is Jolts signing out. Peace!